Life today often feels like a relentless race, faster schedules, endless notifications, and an overwhelming pressure to keep up. But amidst all this noise, have you ever paused to ask yourself, what, out of everything you're chasing, truly matters? The ancient Stoics wrestled with this same question centuries ago, and their answer was profound. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This perspective serves as the foundation of Stoic Minimalism, a way of life that challenges us to let go of the clutter, both physical and mental, and focus on what brings true fulfillment. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic Minimalism can help us detach from unnecessary desires, rediscover gratitude, and live with intention. By the end, you'll see how simplifying doesn't mean sacrificing. It means gaining clarity, purpose, and freedom. So let's begin. Imagine you're carrying a backpack, filling it with all the things you think you need for life: physical possessions, commitments, worries, and endless to-do lists. At first, it feels manageable, but over time it gets heavier, and soon you're struggling to move forward. Many of us live this way, burdened by excess in both the tangible and intangible aspects of life. Stoic minimalism is like stopping to open that backpack, examining its contents, and asking, what truly serves me? What can I let go of? At its core, Stoic minimalism combines two powerful philosophies: the Stoic focus on controlling only what is within our power, and the minimalist principle of removing anything that doesn't add value to our lives. Stoicism teaches us to live rationally, to embrace simplicity, and to let go of desires that lead to unnecessary suffering. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, famously said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Minimalism, on the other hand, invites us to apply this same mindset to our external world, stripping away the clutter that distracts us from what matters most. To understand this better, let's think about something as simple as your daily routine. How often do you find yourself overwhelmed by choices? What to wear, what to buy, what to do next? Each decision takes energy, and that mental load adds up. By adopting a Stoic minimalist approach, you simplify both your external environment and your internal mindset. You stop chasing the latest trends, stop worrying about others' opinions, and focus instead on aligning your actions with your values. Rationality plays a key role here, as it did for the Stoics. They believed in using reason to guide their decisions, asking not, "What do I want?" but rather, "What do I need?" This shift in perspective can be profoundly liberating. Take, for example, the constant desire for more, a bigger house, a newer gadget, or the need to impress others. The Stoics understood that unchecked desires are a bottomless pit, always leaving us wanting more. By questioning these impulses, we regain control over our lives, directing our energy toward things that truly matter. This mindset of simplicity and focus doesn't just free up time or space, it reduces stress. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, the opinions of others, external circumstances, or the pursuit of more, you'll find a weight lifted off your shoulders. Instead, you can focus on what is within your power, your thoughts, your choices, and how you respond to life's challenges. It's about taking responsibility for your mental clarity and emotional well-being. So, how does this help us prioritize our values? By removing what is unnecessary, we gain the clarity to see what's truly important. Maybe for you, it's spending more time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply having the peace of mind to enjoy the present moment. When the noise of excess fades, your focus sharpens and your energy is channeled into what brings real meaning to your life. Stoic minimalism offers a path to greater freedom, not by adding anything but by taking things away. As we continue, we'll dive deeper into how this philosophy can be applied to different areas of life, helping you find balance and purpose in a world that often feels overwhelming. Let's keep unpacking this journey to simplicity. What if the things we chase are the very things that trap us? Think about it for a moment. So often, we tie our happiness to external outcomes, a promotion at work, owning the latest gadget, or even the approval of others. But here's the hard truth. The more we cling to these external things, the more power we give them over our inner peace. As Seneca wisely said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Stoicism teaches us that true contentment doesn't come from acquiring more. It comes from learning to let go. Let's start with a simple distinction the Stoics made. There are things within our control and things outside of it. Our thoughts, actions, and choices, those belong to us, things we can influence. But the outcomes of those actions, the opinions of others, the state of the world, those are entirely out of our hands, and yet so much of our mental energy is spent worrying about things that fall into this second category. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly chase something you can't control. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. It drains you without taking you anywhere. So how do we break free from this cycle? It starts with letting go of external attachments, both physically and mentally. On a physical level, decluttering your space is a great place to begin. Look around at the things you own. How many of them actually add value to your life? How many are just taking up space, serving no real purpose? By removing what you don't need, you create room not only in your home but also in your mind. The process can feel daunting at first, but it's incredibly liberating. For example, imagine finally clearing out that closet stuffed with things you haven't touched in years. Suddenly, you feel lighter, freer, more in control. That's the power of physical detachment, but the real magic happens when you apply the same principle to your mental world. Letting go of the need for validation from others or the constant hunger for success can be transformative. Instead of basing your happiness on external achievements, a promotion, a certain number in your bank account, or praise from someone else, you begin to find joy in the process itself. You focus on doing the best with what's within your control and detach from the outcomes. This doesn't mean you stop caring about improvement or growth. It means you stop allowing those external markers to dictate your sense of worth. Here's a real-world example of how powerful this mindset shift can be. Think of someone you know, or perhaps yourself, who has spent years chasing career success. They keep moving the goalposts. Once they reach one milestone, they immediately set their sights on the next. But instead of feeling fulfilled, they feel exhausted and empty, always chasing but never arriving. Now consider what might change if they adopted a Stoic perspective. By detaching from the outcome, they could approach their work with a sense of purpose, embracing the effort itself rather than tying their happiness to a future result. The stress of "what if this isn't enough" begins to fade, replaced by a calm focus on what's in their control. So here's a question for you to reflect on. What are the external attachments in your life that are weighing you down? Is it the need to keep up appearances, the desire for material things, or perhaps a dependency on others' approval? Take a moment to think about what you could start letting go of today. Because when we release our grip on externals, we make space for a deeper kind of peace, the kind that no one and nothing can take away from us. Not everything in life is yours to control. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and it's a life-changing concept when fully embraced. The Stoics called it the Dichotomy of Control, a way of understanding the world by separating what is within our power from what isn't. As Epictetus famously said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." By focusing only on what we can control and letting go of everything else, we simplify life, reduce stress, and find clarity in even the most chaotic circumstances. Let's break it down. What's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your choices, and how you respond to situations. These are entirely yours to manage. What's outside your control? Pretty much everything else: the weather, the behavior of other people, politics, market trends, or whether your flight gets delayed. And yet, how often do we pour our mental and emotional energy into fixating on these uncontrollable things, worrying about whether someone likes us, replaying an argument in our head, or stressing about events that haven't even happened yet? It's exhausting, isn't it? And it doesn't change the outcome. The beauty of the dichotomy of control is that it gives you permission to stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can't control the cars, the lights, or how long it will take to reach your destination. But what you can control is how you respond. You could sit there fuming, honking, and stressing yourself out. Or you could use the time to listen to an audiobook, practice deep breathing, or simply accept the situation for what it is. One response adds frustration, the other adds peace. The choice is always yours. So how do you apply this in a practical way to simplify your life? Start by identifying where your energy is going. Take a moment to reflect. How much of your time and mental effort are spent worrying about things you can't control? Maybe it's obsessing over what others think of you, stressing about future uncertainties, or dwelling on past mistakes. Now shift your focus. Ask yourself, what can I do right now that is within my power? For example, if you're worried about a presentation, instead of obsessing over how your audience will react, which is outside your control, redirect that energy into preparing thoroughly and practicing. If you're anxious about a decision someone else is making, focus on being the best version of yourself, regardless of their choice. One actionable method to help with this is to keep a control journal. Each day, write down one thing you're stressed about and divide it into 2 columns, within my control and outside my control. This simple act of categorizing helps you see where your energy is being misdirected. For anything in the outside my control column, remind yourself that worrying will not affect the outcome. Let it go. Then, for what's in the within my control column, take meaningful steps to address it. Over time, this practice can transform your mindset and free you from unnecessary mental clutter. To truly embrace the dichotomy of control is to see life with fresh eyes. It's a reminder that you're not responsible for everything, nor should you be. Your only job is to take care of what's within your power and approach the rest with acceptance and grace. So here's a question to ponder. Where are you currently investing your mental and emotional energy? Are you pouring it into things you can't change, or are you using it to take actions that truly align with your values? Reflect on this the next time you feel overwhelmed. Because once you let go of what you can't control, you'll find more energy and focus to invest in what truly matters. Gratitude, it's such a simple concept, yet it has the power to completely transform the way you see your life. For the Stoics, gratitude wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was a way of life, a cornerstone of their philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, devoted much of his personal writings to reflecting on the importance of appreciating life's blessings. In his Meditations he reminds us, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you don't have, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave them if they were not yours." This idea is timeless. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already here. It redirects your mind from a state of lack to one of sufficiency. And this mindset is crucial if we want to simplify our lives. When we constantly chase after what we don't have, whether it's material possessions, accolades, or even emotional validation, it creates a sense of unrest. We tell ourselves, if only I had that, then I'd be happy. But when you pause and acknowledge the good that already exists in your life, you realize just how much you already have, how much you already are. Think of it this way: imagine you're holding a glass of water. If your mind is focused on what's missing, you'll only see how empty the glass appears. But if you shift your focus, you'll notice what's present: the water that's already there, sustaining you. Gratitude invites you to stop looking at the empty part of the glass and start noticing the fullness that's right in front of you. In this way, it simplifies your mindset. Instead of always striving for more, you can find contentment in the present moment. Gratitude also acts as a powerful antidote to unnecessary desires. When you're grateful, the urge to accumulate fades away. Think about it: when you truly appreciate what you have, the constant pull to upgrade, to consume, or to keep up with others starts to lose its grip. You begin to see that happiness isn't found in more possessions or achievements. It's found in appreciating the small, everyday moments. For example, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the laughter of a loved one, or even the simple act of enjoying a quiet cup of tea. These are the kinds of wonders we often overlook in the rush of daily life, but they're where joy truly lives. So how can we cultivate this Stoic practice of gratitude in our own lives? It doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes the simplest habits are the most powerful. Start with a daily gratitude reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down or think about 3 things you're grateful for. It could be as big as landing a new opportunity or as small as having a comfortable bed to sleep in. The key is to make this a consistent practice. Over time, you'll notice how this simple act rewires your mind to focus on sufficiency rather than scarcity. Another way to practice gratitude is to pause during moments of frustration and remind yourself of what's still good. For instance, if you're stuck in traffic, instead of stewing in anger, think about how grateful you are to have a car that works or to have a job to drive to. It's not about ignoring challenges, it's about balancing them with appreciation for what's still going right. Now, let's turn this to you. What in your life are you already grateful for? What blessings, small or large, would you miss if they weren't there tomorrow? Take a moment to reflect on this, not to add anything new to your life, but to see the richness of what's already present. Because when you choose gratitude, you're choosing to live simply, with joy and contentment, rather than chasing what you don't need. And that's a freedom that no external thing can ever give you. How often do we find ourselves trapped in thoughts about the past or anxieties about the future? Maybe it's replaying a mistake we made last week, or worrying about a big deadline looming ahead. Our minds seem to always drift, either to what's already happened or what might happen next. But here's the thing: neither the past nor the future is within our control. All we truly have is this moment, right here, right now. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they taught that much of life's complexity stems from this failure to stay rooted in the present. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." For the Stoics, this wasn't just a nice idea, it was a practical way to simplify life. They recognized that the past is unchangeable and the future is uncertain. Worrying about either only adds mental clutter, draining us of the energy we need to fully engage with what's in front of us. And isn't this truer today than ever before? Think about the constant distractions in modern life, the endless stream of notifications, the pressure to multitask, and the noise of social media vying for our attention. We live in a world where being present feels almost impossible, yet it's exactly what we need to find clarity and peace. The Stoics remind us that by focusing entirely on the present moment, we give our full attention to what truly matters. Imagine this: you're working on an important task, but your phone buzzes every few minutes with emails, texts, and updates. You feel pulled in 100 different directions, and by the end of the day, you're mentally exhausted but don't feel like you've accomplished much. Now contrast that with a scenario where you silence your notifications, set aside dedicated time for your work, and give it your undivided attention. The difference isn't just in productivity, it's in your sense of calm and control. When you're fully present, life feels simpler, less rushed, and paradoxically more fulfilling. So how can we cultivate this ability to live in the now? One practical step is to introduce mindfulness into your day. This doesn't mean you have to sit in meditation for hours. It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, paying attention to your surroundings, or focusing fully on whatever task you're doing, whether it's writing, cooking, or having a conversation. The goal is to bring your attention completely to the present moment, letting go of everything else. Another effective way to eliminate distractions is by setting boundaries with technology. Our devices are incredible tools, but they're also designed to pull us away from the present. Try turning off non-essential notifications, scheduling specific times to check your email or social media, or even practicing a daily, offline hour where you step away from your screens altogether. By creating these boundaries, you reclaim your attention and become more intentional about how you spend your time. Now, here's a question to reflect on. How much of your day is spent fully present? Think about the times you were physically in one place but mentally somewhere else, scrolling your phone during a meal, replaying a past conversation while trying to work, or planning your to-do list while someone was speaking to you. What would change in your life if you dedicated yourself fully to each moment? By practicing presence, you strip away unnecessary distractions and worries, simplifying not just your schedule but your mind. The present moment is all you ever really have. By embracing it, you free yourself from the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future. This is where life happens, right here, right now. And as you practice staying present, you'll notice how much simpler and more meaningful everything becomes. It's a paradox we see everywhere. The more we own, the more stressed we often feel. A bigger house means more cleaning and maintenance. The latest gadgets come with endless updates, repairs, and charges that mysteriously disappear. More commitments on your calendar bring more obligations, deadlines, and mental strain. What starts as an effort to improve our lives can quickly spiral into a source of pressure and overwhelm. The Stoics recognized this centuries ago. They understood that true happiness doesn't come from acquiring more, it comes from needing less. Simplicity, they believed, is the key to a life of freedom, clarity, and peace. Seneca, one of the most practical Stoic thinkers, wrote extensively on the virtues of living simply. In his letters, he reminds us, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Seneca wasn't advocating for poverty, but rather for a mindset of sufficiency, a life where what we have is enough. He often reflected on how chasing luxury and excess leads to distraction, while a simple life allows us to focus on what truly matters: our character, our relationships, and our ability to live in harmony with nature. Take a moment to think about your daily life. How much of your time is spent maintaining things, cleaning, organizing, repairing, or even just thinking about what you want to buy next? Every possession we own requires some degree of our attention and energy. The Stoics saw this as not only inefficient but also as a trap that pulls us away from our true purpose. By embracing simplicity, you free yourself from these distractions and create space for what's essential. Practically, this can apply to both our physical and mental worlds. Start with your material possessions. Look around your home and ask yourself, how many of these things do I truly need? How many bring value to my life versus how many are simply taking up space? You don't have to get rid of everything and live in an empty room, but small steps like decluttering a single drawer, donating clothes you never wear, or saying no to impulse purchases can make a huge difference. When your surroundings are less cluttered, your mind feels less cluttered too. But simplicity isn't just about the things you own, it's also about how you live your daily life. For example, creating a minimalist daily routine can help you reduce decision fatigue and focus on what's meaningful. Instead of juggling 10 different tasks at once, prioritize just a few key actions that align with your values. This might mean setting aside time each morning for reflection, dedicating blocks of time to work without distractions, or saying no to commitments that don't add value to your life. Remember, every yes costs you time and energy, so spend them wisely. Now let's take it a step deeper. How do you define success? For many people, success is tied to accumulation, whether it's money, possessions, or status. But what if success had nothing to do with how much you have and everything to do with how aligned your life is with your core values? Imagine waking up every day not feeling burdened by what you need to achieve or accumulate, but instead feeling content with what's already there. Simplicity gives you that freedom. It's not about deprivation, it's about intentionally choosing what adds value and letting go of what doesn't. So here's a question for you to consider. If you simplified your life, what would that look like? What could you let go of physically, mentally, or emotionally that would make space for the things that truly matter? Because sometimes having less can open the door to a richer, more fulfilling life. The Stoics knew that simplicity isn't about sacrifice, it's about designing a life that's lighter, freer, and focused on what's truly essential. Could simplicity be the path to the kind of success you're really seeking? How often do you overcomplicate your decisions? Think about the countless small and large choices you make every day: what to wear, what to eat, what commitments to take on, how to spend your time. Does it ever feel like you're drowning in options or caught in a cycle of second-guessing yourself? The truth is, much of the stress and indecision we experience comes from adding unnecessary layers of complexity to situations that could be resolved more simply and rationally. The Stoics understood this well and offered a timeless approach to cutting through the noise: the use of reason. Epictetus, one of the most practical Stoic philosophers, emphasized the importance of aligning our decisions with reason and nature. He taught that by living in harmony with what's essential and within our control, we can avoid the turmoil of overcomplication. He famously said, "Don't let the force of an impression when it first hits you knock you off your feet. Just say to it, hold on a moment, let me see who you are and what you represent. Let me put you to the test. What does this mean?" It means pausing before jumping to a decision and asking yourself, is this choice grounded in logic, or am I acting out of impulse, fear, or external pressure? Let's look at a familiar scenario to illustrate this. Imagine you've been invited to multiple social events for the weekend. You feel torn. Part of you wants to say yes to everything to avoid disappointing others, but part of you feels overwhelmed just thinking about it. A common response might be to overthink the situation, agonizing over who will be upset if you decline, or trying to juggle everything at the cost of your own peace. But a Stoic approach grounded in rationality would strip away this complexity. Instead of reacting emotionally, you could reflect: do these commitments align with my values and priorities? Do they contribute to my well-being, or am I saying yes out of fear or guilt? By calmly examining the situation with reason, you simplify your choices and make decisions that serve your life's greater purpose. This principle doesn't just apply to social commitments, it can declutter any area of life. For instance, consider the endless decisions around what to buy. Marketers often thrive on convincing us we need the latest version of a product. But a Stoic perspective might prompt you to stop and ask, do I need this, or do I simply want it because of external influences like trends or advertising? Is this purchase driven by reason, or is it a fleeting desire? Rational thinking helps you make clearer, more intentional decisions and prevents you from accumulating unnecessary things, whether that's material possessions or non-essential commitments. The beauty of applying rationality to decision-making is that it not only simplifies individual choices but also creates a life with more clarity and focus. When you're guided by reason, you stop wasting energy on overthinking or chasing things that don't matter. You create space to focus on what truly aligns with your values, whether that's spending quality time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply enjoying moments of stillness. Now it's your turn to reflect. Think about a recent decision you made, big or small. Was that choice guided by reason, or were you influenced by impulse, emotion, or external pressures? What might have changed if you'd approached it with a Stoic mindset, pausing to evaluate whether it aligned with your priorities and values? By practicing this kind of rational reflection, you'll start to see how much simpler life can be when you strip away the unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. It's not about removing all emotion from your decisions. It's about letting reason lead the way so you can live with greater intention and peace. How much of what you do is driven by what others think? Think about it. How many of your decisions, whether big or small, are influenced by a desire for approval, a fear of judgment, or the lingering question, what will people say? The need for external validation is one of the biggest sources of mental clutter. It complicates our lives by pulling us in every direction other than the one we truly want to follow. The Stoics understood how damaging this could be and emphasized the power of self-approval and independence. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." When we prioritize the opinions of others over our own values and principles, we surrender control of our lives. It's as if we're handing over the keys to our happiness, letting someone else decide whether we're worthy, successful, or enough. Imagine the mental gymnastics of constantly trying to meet other people's expectations, shaping your words, actions, and even your lifestyle around what might please or impress someone else. It's exhausting, isn't it? And worse, it often leads us away from our authentic selves. Let's consider a relatable example. You're about to post something on social media, a photo, a thought, or maybe an accomplishment you're proud of. But instead of just sharing it, you start overthinking. Will people like it? Will they think it's good enough? Should I change the caption? Before you know it, what should have been a simple moment of expression turns into a mini crisis of doubt. Or take the workplace. Maybe you hesitate to share an idea in a meeting because you're worried about how it might be received. In these moments, the need for approval subtly controls you, shaping your actions and stealing your peace of mind. The Stoics believed that true freedom and a simpler life comes from letting go of this need. They taught that your worth isn't determined by what others think, but by how well you live in alignment with your own principles. When you stop chasing approval, you gain the clarity to act based on your values, not someone else's standards. For example, instead of dressing to impress or speaking to appease, you start showing up as your authentic self, confident in the knowledge that your value doesn't hinge on outside opinions. And when you do this, life becomes lighter, less entangled in the web of others' expectations. Of course, this is easier said than done. The desire for validation is deeply ingrained in us. It's part of being human. But the good news is that it's something you can work on one step at a time. Start by asking yourself simple yet powerful questions. Am I doing this because it's meaningful to me or because I want others to approve? If no one were watching, would I still make this choice or pursue this path? Reflecting on these questions helps you separate genuine desires from those driven by outside validation. Here's something to try. For one day, commit to doing at least one thing entirely for yourself, with no thought of how it might be perceived. Maybe it's wearing your favorite outfit, even if it's not trendy. Maybe it's sharing an idea at work, regardless of how it's received. or it could be as simple as skipping an event you don't want to attend without justifying yourself to others. Notice how freeing it feels to make a choice that's yours and yours alone. So think about this. Where in your life does the need for approval control your choices? What decisions are you making not because they align with your values, but because you're worried about how others might judge you? By letting go of this need, you'll find that life becomes simpler, your actions more intentional, and your sense of self more secure. Because the truth is, the only approval that matters is your own. A focused life is a simplified life. When we center our lives around what truly matters, our core values, we naturally eliminate distractions, reduce internal conflict, and gain a sense of clarity that makes everyday decisions easier. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca once wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." This quote reminds us that without a clear sense of direction, we get swept away by the currents of life, led by fleeting desires, external pressures, or the noise of the world around us. But when we identify our core values and let them guide us, life becomes more intentional, more meaningful, and far less overwhelming. So, what exactly are core values? Simply put, they are the principles that matter most to you, the non-negotiables that define who you are and what you stand for. For the Stoics, these values often revolved around virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Living in alignment with such values was seen as the ultimate path to a good life. But your core values might look different. They might include things like honesty, kindness, creativity, or the importance of family. The key is to discover what resonates with you on the deepest level, because once you're clear on your values, everything else begins to fall into place. Think about this. How often do you feel torn between different choices, unsure about what to prioritize? Maybe you felt obligated to say yes to a request that didn't sit right with you, or you've chased goals that didn't feel truly meaningful just because you thought you should. These moments of conflict often arise because our actions don't align with our values. Without a strong connection to what truly matters, we end up saying yes to everything and spreading ourselves too thin. But when you know your values, the decision-making process becomes much simpler. You no longer have to overthink or second-guess because your values act as a compass, pointing you toward the direction that feels right. For example, let's say one of your core values is quality time with your family. When a work opportunity arises that requires long hours and frequent travel, your decision becomes clearer. Instead of agonizing over it, you can reflect on whether this opportunity aligns with your value. If it doesn't, you can confidently turn it down, knowing you're staying true to what matters most to you. Or perhaps you value personal growth and learning. In that case, choosing to invest time in a course or skill over mindless scrolling on social media becomes an easy choice because it aligns with your priority. If you're not sure where to start, here's a simple exercise to help you clarify your core values. Take a moment to write down the things that matter most to you: people, principles, experiences, and goals. Then narrow the list down to 5 or 6 values that feel absolutely essential. These should be the things that, if you lived without them, would leave you feeling unfulfilled. Once you have your values written down, reflect on your daily life and ask yourself, are my actions aligned with these values, or have distractions, habits, or external pressures pulled me away from them? The goal isn't to be perfect, but to bring greater awareness to the ways your life aligns or doesn't align with what you care about most. Now take a moment to consider, what are your core values, what truly matters at the end of the day, and how often do your actions reflect those priorities? Because when you focus on your core values, you don't just simplify life, you create a life that feels meaningful, purposeful, and deeply fulfilling. After all, a life guided by values is a life lived with intention. Where will your values take you? Resilience, the ability to endure life's challenges with strength and grace, is something we all strive for. But how do we build it in a world that often feels overwhelming and chaotic? The Stoics believed that resilience wasn't just about withstanding hardship, it was about thriving through it, and one of their secrets to cultivating resilience was simplicity. Let's start with an example from the life of a Stoic philosopher who embodied this principle, Musonius Rufus. Often called the Roman Socrates, Musonius faced exile multiple times in his life, banished to remote and harsh lands for remaining steadfast in his principles. Yet, instead of becoming embittered or broken by these hardships, he adapted. Musonius believed that a simple life free of unnecessary desires and distractions gave him the mental clarity and inner strength to endure whatever fate threw his way. Stripped of material comforts and societal status, he focused only on what was within his control: his thoughts, his actions, and his virtues. By reducing life's complexity, he freed his mind to remain calm and resolute in the face of adversity. This lesson is as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. Challenges, both big and small, demand mental energy. Whether it's navigating a personal loss, dealing with financial stress, or simply managing a busy schedule, many of us find ourselves stretched thin, struggling to focus on both the problem at hand and everything else life throws at us. When our lives are cluttered with too many commitments, possessions, or distractions, we end up draining the energy we need to face challenges effectively. This is where simplicity becomes not just a tool for clarity, but a foundation for resilience. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." In other words, adversity isn't just something to survive. It's an opportunity to grow and strengthen yourself. But in order to respond to difficulties with this kind of grace, you need space mentally and emotionally. Simplifying your life creates that space. It allows you to focus your limited energy on what matters most, even in the midst of hardship. So how does this look in practice? One powerful way to build resilience through simplicity is by reducing your commitments. When life feels overwhelming, it can be tempting to try to do everything at once, balancing work, family, social obligations, and personal goals. But spreading yourself too thin makes it harder to handle tough moments. Instead, focus on what's essential. During hard times, give yourself permission to say no to things that aren't urgent or necessary. This might mean postponing non-critical tasks, stepping back from social obligations, or simplifying your daily routine so you can conserve energy for what truly requires your attention. Another practical way to foster resilience is to break challenges into smaller, manageable steps. When you're facing a daunting situation, the weight of it can feel paralyzing. But by focusing on just one small action at a time, you make progress without overwhelming yourself. For instance, if you're dealing with financial difficulties, instead of obsessing over the big picture, focus on one step forward, like reviewing your budget or cutting one unnecessary expense. Simplifying the path ahead makes it easier to stay focused and steady. Finally, simplify your inner world by practicing mindfulness and gratitude. During tough times, it's easy to get lost in a cycle of negative thoughts. But by consciously focusing on the present moment or reminding yourself of the good things that remain, you can ground yourself and cultivate a sense of perspective. These practices don't make challenges disappear, but they do help you approach them from a calmer, more balanced place. So let me ask you this: when life gets hard, how might a simpler approach help you handle it better? Imagine how it would feel to let go of unnecessary distractions, to focus only on what you can control, and to take small, meaningful steps forward. The Stoics remind us that resilience isn't about being unshaken by challenges. It's about rising to meet them with clarity, strength, and grace. And by embracing simplicity, you give yourself the space to do just that. As we bring this journey through Stoic minimalism to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the key principles we've explored and why they matter. At its heart, Stoic minimalism is about simplifying life so you can focus on what truly matters. It's about letting go of external attachments, the need for more possessions, the craving for others' approval, or the pursuit of things beyond your control. Instead, it guides you toward focusing on what's within your power, your thoughts, your actions, and your ability to respond to life with wisdom and intention. We've talked about the importance of aligning your life with your core values, using them as a compass to guide your decisions and simplify your priorities. When you know what truly matters to you, distractions start to fade, and life becomes more intentional and fulfilling. We've explored the transformative power of gratitude, shifting your focus from what's missing to appreciating the blessings already present in your life. And we've seen the value of living fully in the present moment, where real life happens, rather than being consumed by regret over the past or anxiety about the future. Together, these principles allow us to strip away the excess, whether it's physical clutter, mental distractions, or unnecessary stress, and create space for clarity, peace, and focus. Simplicity doesn't mean sacrificing joy or ambition. It means clearing the path to a life that feels lighter, freer, and more aligned with your deepest values. As the Stoics teach us, happiness isn't found in having more, but in needing less. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully when he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." Be one. This reminds us that the wisdom of Stoicism isn't just something to think about, it's something to live. The ideas we've discussed today are not abstract concepts. They're practical tools you can use to create change in your own life, starting right now. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one principle from this video that resonated with you the most. Maybe it's practicing gratitude, living in the present, focusing on your core values, or simplifying your external attachments. Take that one idea and start applying it to your daily routine. You don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight. In fact, the Stoics would argue that small, consistent steps lead to the most meaningful progress. And as you apply these ideas, notice the difference they make. Notice how letting go of what you can't control or clearing away what distracts you brings a sense of calm and focus. Notice how gratitude shifts your perspective. Notice how intentional living creates a sense of freedom that's harder to find in the chaos of excess. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the wisdom of Stoic minimalism. If you found these ideas helpful, consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you're applying Stoicism in your own life. And if you're looking for more ways to explore this philosophy and its practical tools, join our community where we continue to learn, grow, and simplify together. Remember, the path to a more peaceful and meaningful life isn't about adding, it's about letting go. Until next time, live simply, act with intention, and stay grounded in what truly matters.